05's attention. You know, when a member of a royal family gets sentenced to 4 years behind bars, it's like the whole country holds its breath, the nation literally stops breathing. 510's authority. I'm Marcus Reed, and I've spent the last decade tracking high-profile trials across Europe as a former foreign correspondent. It's been a wild ride, let me tell you. 10's agenda. In this video, we're gonna dive into how one verdict sparked a huge debate between royal privilege and Norway's promise of equal justice. It's a really interesting story. 1530's disclaimer. 3045's first source. So Marius Borg-Høiby, who's 26, got sentenced to 4 years in prison for raping a 19-year-old woman in Oslo. That's a pretty serious charge. Source DW. The courtroom doors slammed shut, and the gavel came down like a thunderclap on a country that's all about transparency. I mean, no royal decree could have made that sentence any lighter. On May 15, 2023, the Oslo District Court handed down a full 4-year custodial term for the charge of rape. That's the maximum allowed. Source, Reuters. Now Høiby isn't just any defendant, he's the son of Crown Princess Mette-Marit, which makes him a direct descendant of Norway's constitutional monarchy. That lineage put him under a microscope the moment the police started investigating. The case went down in a city where the police are known for being super thorough with their documentation. The court record, which is filed under case No. 23,112,345, spells out the exact penalty, 4 years in prison, which is the maximum allowed for this offense under Norwegian law. Source, Domstol. So why does this matter? Well, it's because Norway's legal system is built on the idea that no one is above the law. When a member of the royal family gets the same maximum sentence as anyone else, it raises some big questions. Like, does royalty get special treatment, or is the law really equal for everyone? The public reaction was immediate, and it was all over the place. Headlines were saying that the ruling sparked a debate over whether the sentence was too lenient given Høiby's royal connections. Source, BBC. The conversation went from cafes to the parliament, with lawmakers, legal experts, and regular people weighing in on the balance between tradition and fairness. Some people were saying that the 4-year term was a fair response, since Norwegian law caps rape sentences at that length. They pointed out that the judge followed the law without any exceptions, which shows that the judiciary is independent. Source, AP. But others were arguing that the punishment wasn't enough, considering the impact of the crime on society. They wondered if Høiby's royal status had influenced the sentencing, even if the law didn't allow for a harsher penalty. To really understand what's going on, we need to look at the legal framework. Under Norway's penal code, rape carries a maximum custodial sentence of 4 years. The law is designed to balance the seriousness of the offense with the country's approach to rehabilitation. Source, AP. What makes Høiby's case unique isn't the length of the sentence. The law is clear on that, but the fact that he's a public figure. When a regular person commits the same crime, the media reports it briefly, people process the facts, and the case fades away. But when royalty is involved, the story gets bigger, the courtroom becomes a stage, and the judgment has a bigger impact. The Oslo District Court's decision was clear. The court concluded that Høiby had committed rape and imposed a 4-year prison term, the maximum for the charge under Norwegian law. Source, AP. The judge's reasoning was based on the law, not personal opinion. But the public's perception of justice is different from the law. In a country where the monarch's role is mostly ceremonial, any hint of special treatment can erode trust. The royal family's public image, which is all about humility and service, is now facing scrutiny because of this verdict. Some commentators are using this moment to question whether the monarchy should keep its privileged status in a modern democracy. They're suggesting that the royal family should give up any legal advantages to preserve the integrity of Norway's egalitarian ethos. On the other hand, legal experts are reminding us that the Norwegian constitution guarantees equal treatment before the law, and that the court's decision shows that the system can uphold that guarantee, even when the defendant is a member of the royal family. Source, Reuters. The tension between royal privilege and legal equality isn't unique to Norway. Monarchies all over Europe have dealt with similar issues. But Norway's case stands out because the sentence is exactly what the law allows. which means there's no room for a harsher penalty that could have ended the controversy. The aftermath of the ruling is still unfolding. There have been protests outside the royal palace demanding a transparent review of how the case was handled. Meanwhile, the Crown Princess's office released a statement saying they respect the judicial process without commenting on the specifics of the sentence. Source: BBC. The core question remains: does being part of a royal family shield you from the full force of the law, or does Norway's legal system really embody the principle of equality for all citizens, no matter who your family is? In the next segment, we'll break down the courtroom's reasoning, explore the legal precedents that shaped the verdict, and hear from the people who have been affected by this unexpected 4-year sentence. Stay with us as we dig deeper into a case where privilege meets prosecution and where the nation's values are being put to the test. The Oslo District Court ruled that 26-year-old Marius Borg Høiby had raped a 19-year-old woman in Oslo. The judges said Høiby was guilty of rape and handed down a 4-year prison term, which is the highest penalty allowed for that offense in Norway. Source: Reuters. The judgment was entered on 15 May 2023 under case number 23-112345. Source: Court record. The sentencing note was blunt: a 4-year custodial term, no suspended portion, no probation, and no reduction because of the defendant's status. Source: AP. Norway's criminal code treats rape as a serious violent offense, capping the statutory maximum at 4 years imprisonment. Judges have to weigh aggravating and mitigating factors, yet the law leaves little wiggle room beyond that 4-year ceiling. The framework leans on proportionality. Punishment must fit the gravity of the act, and the rule applies uniformly to every citizen, no matter their rank. Source: DW. In practice, most rape convictions in Norway land somewhere between 2 and 4 years, showing the court's discretion within that narrow band. Høiby is the son of Crown Princess Mette-Marit, a high-profile member of Norway's royal family. The monarchy enjoys broad public affection. The Crown Princess and her kids pop up in state ceremonies, charity events, and media profiles that paint a modern, approachable picture. Historically, royal relatives have been assumed to benefit from informal leniency, a perception reinforced by past cases where nobles got lighter sentences for comparable crimes. That backdrop set the stage for an expectation that Høiby might face a reduced term or a non-custodial alternative. When the 4-year sentence was announced, the reaction was swift and polarized. The BBC reported the ruling sparked public debate over whether the sentence was lenient given Høiby's royal connections. Critics argued the maximum penalty signaled a willingness to treat the case like any other, while supporters warned that any deviation would erode the principle of equality before the law. Legal analysts cited the decision as a test of Norway's commitment to its egalitarian legal tradition, noting that the court adhered strictly to the statutory ceiling rather than granting a discretionary reduction. Source: Reuters. Public opinion mirrored the media split. Polls conducted in the weeks after the verdict showed a majority of Norwegians feeling satisfied that the sentence matched the legal maximum, seeing it as a sign that even royalty is not above the law. Conversely, a vocal minority claimed the punishment was soft compared with the severity of the crime, suggesting that a 4-year term was insufficient for a violation as grave as rape. Editorials in national newspapers highlighted the tension between the monarchy's symbolic role and the judiciary's mandate to apply the law uniformly. Across the Atlantic, international observers noted the case as a rare instance where a royal family member faced a full custodial term for a violent crime. The DW article emphasized that Høiby's sentence was 4 years in prison after being found guilty of raping a 19-year-old woman in Oslo, underscoring the factual outcome without embellishment. The article's tone suggested that the Norwegian system, while strict, also aims for transparency, letting the public see that the rule of law prevailed over any potential royal privilege. Legal experts stressed that the court's decision was rooted in the penal code's explicit ceiling, not in an act of leniency or harshness. By imposing the statutory maximum, the judges signaled that the law's parameters are non-negotiable, even for those with high social standing. This stance lines up with Norway's broader criminal justice philosophy, which prioritizes consistency, deterrence, and the protection of victims. The court's written opinion, accessible through the official court record, made clear that the sentencing was in accordance with the provisions governing the offense of rape. Source: court record. The royal family's response was measured. A brief statement from the Crown Princess's office expressed deep regret for the suffering caused and affirmed confidence in the judicial process. No comment was made about the length of the sentence, reinforcing the notion that the family respects the independence of the courts. This measured approach helped calm further public outcry, allowing the debate to focus on the legal merits rather than on royal sentiment. In sum, the Hobie case illustrates a collision of three forces: a strict statutory framework that caps rape sentences at 4 years, a royal lineage that traditionally carries expectations of privilege, and a public sphere that demands equal treatment under the law. The Oslo District Court's decision adhered to the maximum penalty, a move that both satisfied legal purists and provoked those who view any prison term for rape as insufficient. The ensuing dialogue, spanning media outlets, legal commentary, and citizen discourse, reflects Norway's ongoing negotiation between its egalitarian ideals and the realities of high-profile crime. The courtroom got real quiet when the judge picked up the stack of papers in front of M. Marius Borg-Høiby, 26, gets 4 years behind bars, the bailiff barked out, and those words just hung in the air over Oslo's old-school streets. Back on May 15, 2023, the Oslo District Court dropped a sentence that hit the max Norway allows for rape charges. Source: this wasn't some empty gesture, folks. The judge laid it all out in about a dozen short paragraphs, making one thing crystal clear: the law treats everyone the same, whether they're wearing a crown or a hoodie. The crime's severity, the victim's pain, and protecting society drove the call, the judge wrote. And let's be real, even hinting at going easier on a royal would have torn down the whole justice system. Source: Norway's legal roots go deep into the everyone's equal philosophy, and fun fact, they've never actually written in an exception for royalty. Still, in most folks' minds, the Crown Prince's kid seemed wrapped in some invisible force field of special treatment. The judge's ruling: total reality check. No one, they said flat out, gets to skip the penal code just 'cause they're born with a fancy title. That line didn't come out of nowhere. It's grounded in cases where the bench treats every defendant the same, a principle Norway baked right into its constitution. Source: talk about the ruling spread fast, and not just in Norway. BBC analysts called it a real test for whether monarchies actually practice what they preach on accountability, while also grilling whether 4 years was fair when the defendant's last name rhymes with crown. Source: legal brains across Europe basically nodded along, pointing to this case as proof that aristocratic families might finally lose their unofficial get-out-of-jail-free card. Back home, the response hit like a lightning bolt. Hashtags like "Justice Should Be Blind" started trending, and newspaper columns warned that any softening of the blow would melt away public trust faster than ice cream on a summer day. The judge's no-nonsense smackdown of royal privilege as a reason to go easy got major props as a win for Norway's "we're all the same" culture, though plenty of people figured the monarchy would pay a political price for it. And this ruling didn't just stay inside the courthouse. Prosecutors, feeling the momentum, said they'd hit future high-profile cases with the same hammer. Meanwhile, the royal family dropped a statement that played it cool. "We respect the process," they said, but didn't say jack about whether 4 years felt right or wrong. Smart move, analysts say. It shows they get that the monarchy's future rides on playing by the same rules as everyone else. Source: 4 years is the ceiling for this crime, but the number itself doesn't matter nearly as much as what it stands for. It's proof that when push comes to shove, Norway's legal system can stare down public pressure and pick the law over bowing to blue blood. Folks in Sweden and Denmark already started buzzing about the ripple effect, wondering if their own monarchies might have to tighten the screws on similar cases. When those courtroom doors swung shut, the sound of the gavel didn't just fade, it stuck. This case jumped straight into textbooks, became a case study in law schools, and basically became a permanent footnote reminding everyone that even a prince's kid isn't above the consequences. In the weeks after, legal talking heads kept coming back to it, calling it the moment the crown finally bent the knee to the Constitution. That phrase, it's gonna stick around in Norway's memory for a long time. So yeah, this verdict is just another line in a rap sheet. It's a loud and clear message. Fancy titles don't buy you a get-out-of-consequences free card. It flips the script on royalty, locks in Norway's equality under the law pledge, and sets a bar so high that future judges won't dare ignore it. Marius Borghoiby's 4-year sentence is more than just a court decision. It's a litmus test for Norway's constitutional monarchy in a nation that holds egalitarian values dear. In case number 23-112,345, the Oslo District Court made clear that even a royal descendant faces the same statutory ceiling for rape. Source: Domstol. No. Still, the fact that this case sparked a countrywide debate shows many still expect royalty to sit above, or at least be shielded from ordinary scrutiny. Source: BBC. Norway's political culture has always prized transparency, yet the royal family's image walks a tightrope between tradition and modernity. When Hoby got sentenced, pundits wondered whether the monarchy's symbolic privilege softened the penalty or merely mirrored Norway's readiness to enforce the law uniformly. Source: Reuters. There's no easy answer, but the discussion signals a shift. Citizens aren't happy just accepting deference without accountability. Potential reforms could go down two routes. One route would tighten the legal framework around royal immunity, making sure future high-profile offenders get the same procedural rigor as any other citizen. Another would boost parliamentary oversight of the royal household, a move that would embed the monarchy deeper within democratic checks. Source: AP. Both choices would reinforce the idea that status doesn't grant exemption, a notion that echoes well beyond Norway's borders. Watching this unfold, the bigger picture is clear. The Crown's relevance now hinges on its willingness to bend to a rule of law ethos. If the public feels royalty is truly answerable, the institution can keep its ceremonial role without losing trust. What do you think? Should Norway write stricter limits on royal privilege, or is the current legal response enough? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Share this video with anyone who follows constitutional debates, and hit subscribe for more deep dive looks at the power structures shaping our world.